My name is Magdalena Dittmer, and I have a multiple sclerosis diagnosis. I am making this channel to document what I'm learning and what I'm trying to try to heal myself in the hopes that it may help other people either avoid the mistakes I make or try the things that I've tried that have helped me. So I hope this helps somebody out there. Thank you for watching. Digestion. Okay, so digestion begins in the mouth. Mastication, chewing up food, mixing it with your saliva starts the digestion of carbohydrates. So it exposes it to enzymes in your saliva, surrounds it with saliva, softens it, breaks it up. You swallow it, goes into your stomach. Your stomach releases hydrochloric acid and pepsin, which break down protein. So carbohydrate digestion stops, protein digestion begins, and it mushes things up, moves it around. And then in about an hour, so it stays in your stomach for about an hour, it moves into your small intestine, which is like 20 feet long, tiny little tube. There's not supposed to be bacteria in there. Like there's probably some, but it's kind of sterile in your small intestine, which was news to me. I always thought there were microbes in the small intestine, but there really is not. Your gallbladder and your pancreas release digestive enzymes and bile, which break down protein, fat, carbohydrates, and then bile breaks down, emulsifies fat. So the stomach acid and the bile help with motility. They also keep the small intestine sterile, which it's supposed to be sterile because that's where you absorb most of your nutrition is in the small intestine. At the end of the small intestine, it moves into the large intestine, the colon, which is very short, pretty short in comparison. Ascending colon, transverse colon, descending colon, then it comes out through your rectum, right? So in the large intestine is where all the microbes are. So the microbiome takes what's left after your body has absorbed all the nutrients it needs from the food, and it breaks it down. So all the fibers that you cannot digest, the microbes digest. And that's also where water is reabsorbed, and then a stool is made, and then it comes out of your rectum. So that's digestion. With my personal situation, I had a lot of digestion problems, and I did way too many antibiotics. I mean, probably 30 rounds of antibiotics in my life for different reasons over my lifetime, and I think I wrecked my microbiome. So when you take antibiotics, it kills the bacteria, but it leaves behind the fungus and the parasites to overgrow and bloom. So parasites, fungus, and bacteria, viruses, they're all natural inhabitants of your digestive tract. But if you take a bunch of antibiotics, you're basically tipping the balance. And a parasite might not really be a problem, but if the bacteria are not there to keep the parasite in check, it then becomes pathological. So that is pretty much what I believe happened to me. I recommend the GAPS Diet book by Tasha Campbell McBride. That book taught me so much about digestion and the balance of the microbiome. Highly recommend that book. And she's all about using diet to sort of rebalance the fungus, parasites, and bacteria with each other. A lot of it is removing the food for the microbes, so the fiber and the carbs, the complex carbs. So basically, the gut can get so wrecked that you can't actually break down the complex carbohydrates, because complex carbohydrates are chains, are long chains that your body has to like slice up to break down. And if you have a digestion problem, you maybe can't break them down. So then if you're eating a potato, which is a starch, very complex carb and it goes into your intestines, you can't break it up and digest it. Well, then the microbes, the unbalanced microbes down there, are going to eat it. And they, when they are eating your food, they create all kinds of toxins that can leak out into your bloodstream and affect your health in a lot of different ways. So in the GAPS diet and the specific carbohydrate diet, for example, they acknowledge that and they cut you down to like simpler carbs, not like sugars, but monosaccharides. So a monosaccharide means they're not linked in chains. So a disaccharide is two linked together. So that's table sugar. And that's why that one's considered the most damaging, because it's like your body can't cut that two in half to digest it. And it goes in and it feeds the microbes down there and affects you negatively. So the same is true for like potato, which is a polysaccharide. So a monosaccharide would be found in like vegetables, low carb vegetables like broccoli, carrots, zucchini, and fruits. So like an apple has monosaccharides, and so you can digest that more easily. It doesn't take as many enzymes and such to break it down. So when your microbiome gets out of balance, usually that compromises the health of the intestinal tract and the cells, and so the whole digestive process is compromised. So the GAPS and the specific carbohydrate diet are all about like, let's remove those complex carbohydrates and keep it real simple so your body can break it down and absorb it. Now, I learned a lot from Kiran Krishnan. He created Microbiome Labs with some other partners. He has a lot of information on YouTube. I recommend looking him up. I've learned so much from him. But he's all about the mucin layer, and that's where the microbes live. So if you don't have a healthy mucin layer, they're not going to really have a home, or they'll be too close to the wall of your intestine, which could trigger your immune system. So a lot of your immune system is in your gut, and that's where you interact with the outside world, is your gut wall. So you need that mucin layer to let the microbes live there, and it's almost like a layer of your gut, really. So like there shouldn't just be bare skin interacting with the microbes down there, I guess, is what I gathered from his work. But what I've personally found, so I had a lot of hormonal deficiencies. I think it's coming from my brain, from that my pituitary hypothalamus isn't controlling my endocrine system properly. So I got low in probably all of the hormones I need, but I found that estrogen was incredibly helpful to me. So I wasn't making saliva. My teeth were actually getting compromised because I didn't have enough saliva in my mouth to keep them healthy. And so estrogen manages the mucous membranes in your body, which is your whole digestive tract, your mouth, your eyes, your airway, your vaginal canal if you have one. So estrogen is super important for the mucous membrane, right? And then thyroid hormone for me was really important for making stomach acid and motility. So my gut motility got really slowed down, like gastroparesis. I wasn't diagnosed with gastroparesis, but very slow motility. So the migratory motor complex and peristalsis keep the food moving along. And if it sits anywhere too long, especially in the small intestine, you might get overgrowth of microbes. So microbes shouldn't be in your small intestine. If your small intestine isn't moving, then the microbes will move in there, because the small intestine is supposed to migratory motor complex constantly move, flushing it out, moving the food along. And if it gets sort of paralyzed, the food will just sit there and then bugs will move in. And then you can get SIBO, which I had as well. I had SIBO. I had to treat that, which I'll maybe make a whole nother video about SIBO. SIBO can really rev up your immune system in a negative way. So let's see. So the liver, gallbladder, bile, right? That can kind of go wrong. That went wrong for me. I also wasn't making enough stomach acid. So I found taking stomach acid and bile and digestive enzymes was a huge game changer for me. I was pretty much stuck in a position where I couldn't digest anything. I couldn't get any protein from what I ate. And if you don't have enough stomach acid, you also won't absorb calcium or zinc, for example. So hopefully you understand how important calcium and zinc are to your health. So by supplementing, which I learned from the GAPS diet books, that's why I tried it. I supplemented hydrochloric acid, ox bile, and digestive enzymes. Huge game changer. I went down a huge rabbit hole of treating parasites and fungus. So I did a year of treating parasites and fungus to help rebalance, because I had done so many antibiotics and the parasites and fungus had gotten out of control. They were actually, I could test that my fungus was too high and I had a parasite too. So I did a year of like parasite and fungus, kind of hit them every month, and of course did probiotic foods, like homemade yogurt, homemade kefir, homemade sauerkraut to kind of tip the scales this way. And then I treated SIBO, and I took ox bile, stomach acid, and digestive enzymes to help the motility. The thyroid hormone helped with motility as well, and so did the cortisol. So I was basically stuck in a position because it's all a snowball feedback loop. Okay, so once I wrecked my biome, my microbiome, it's like that had a downstream effect on my sex hormones. And once my sex hormones were like MIA, that affected the mucin layer in my digestive tract. So no matter what I did, I couldn't fix my microbiome. I couldn't repopulate it with the good guys because there was no mucin layer. So once I started taking the estrogen, that helped me have saliva, helped kind of lubricate the entire pathway, gave me that mucin layer. I started taking cortisol and T3, and that helped the motility. And finally, I was able to start fixing my gut. But that's also after a year of cutting down on the parasites and the fungus. So it's a tricky thing to correct. Gut dysbiosis is very tricky. I'll probably make a lot of videos about it, but I just wanted to talk a little bit about digestion. And the take-home point I want to make is sometimes when you get caught in a hole, you really need the medicine to get out of a hole. Like, I needed to fix my mucus linings, and I needed to take stomach acid and bile to have any chance of getting out of the hole that I was in. And of course, foods that are easier to digest help as well. So like smoothie mixes that were kind of all pre-digested raw. I love Garden of Life. I really appreciate their smoothie mixes. I love the Fit. They have a Fit smoothie mix. Really like that. Gives you all these amino acids. It just helped me kind of get around my digestive problems, because if you don't have the nutrients, you can't heal. You can't heal. So it's like breaking the cycle, breaking the vicious cycle of the downward spiral. How do you break it, right? How do you break it? So for me, replacing the hormones, taking the digestive supports, and rebalancing the microbes in there. All of that had to happen before I could actually recover. And there was no diet that was going to save me. There was no diet. I tried as many diets as I possibly could, and none of them worked actually. So I'll talk more in depth about each one, but that's what I have to say about digestion.